Joyce Vaughn. Next nomination was Joyce Vaughn. Roll call vote, please, Mr. Campo.
Miss Agman Bosa.
Yes.
Mr. Bono.
Yes.
Mr. Campo.
Yes.
Miss Childs.
No.
Mr. Colonis.
No.
Mr. Condon.
Yes.
Mr. Denbeck.
Yes.
Ms. Driscoll. Mr. Fioravanti.
Yes.
Mr. Goldstein.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Miss Green.
Yes.
Mr. Healy.
Yes.
Ms. Jessic.
Yes.
Mr. Keatley.
Yes.
Ms. Khan.
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie.
Yes.
Mr. Monahan.
Yes.
Ms. Mooreshead.
Yes.
Ms. Mullen.
Yes.
Ms. Mullen Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Stewart Jelinas.
Yes.
Mr. Segru.
Yes.
Ms. Blunt seated.
I was reading another name.
Okay.
Okay, next nominee was Kathy Gagno. Next nominee was Kathy Gagno. Roll call vote, Mr. Campo.
Miss Agman Bosa.
Pass.
Mr. Bono.
Yes.
Mr. Campo.
Yes.
Miss Childs.
No.
Mr. Colonis.
Yes.
Mr. Condon.
Yes.
Mr. Denbeck.
Yes.
Ms. Driscoll.
No.
Mr. Fioravanti.
No.
Mr. Goldstein.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
No.
Ms. Green.
No.
Mr. Healy.
Yes.
Ms. Jessic.
Yes.
Mr. Keatley.
Yes.
Ms. Khan. Ms. McKenzie.
Yes.
Mr. Monahan.
Yes.
Ms. Mooreshead.
Yes.
Ms. Mullen.
No.
Ms. Mullen Cole.
No.
Ms. Stewart Jelinas.
Yes.
Mr. Segru.
Yes.
Ms. Gagno is seated.
So Mr. Kennedy unfortunately will not get a vote as all the positions have been taken for item 1. Moving on to item 2, to consider an act on an appointment to the Senior Citizen Commission due to the resignation of Kent Ward in a term 4/1/2024 to 4/5/2027. May I get a motion, please?
Second.
Are there any nominations? Representative Keatley,
I'd like to make a motion for Marilyn Lusher.
is there a second?
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Representative Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'd like to nominate Tom Kennedy for reappointment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Who seconded it? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I'll declare nominations are closed. Again, we'll vote on the order that they were nominated. The first nomination is Marilyn Lusher. Again, you'll be voting for Marilyn Lusher. Roll call vote, Mr. Campo.
Miss Agman Bosa.
No.
Mr. Bono.
Yes.
Mr. Campo.
Yes.
Miss Childs.
No.
Mr. Colonis.
Yes.
Mr. Condon.
Yes.
Mr. Denbeck.
Yes.
Ms. Driscoll.
No.
Mr. Fioravanti.
No.
Mr. Goldstein.
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez.
No.
Miss Green.
No.
Mr. Healy.
Yes.
Ms. Jessic.
Yes.
Mr. Keatley.
Yes.
Ms. Khan.
No.
Ms. McKenzie.
Yes.
Mr. Monahan.
Yes.
Ms. Mooreshead.
Yes.
Ms. Mullen.
No.
Ms. Mullen Cole.
No.
Mr. Olinsu. Oh, excuse me. Ms. Stewart Jelinas.
Yes.
Mr. Segru.
Yes.
Ms. Lusher is seated.
Okay, Mr. Kennedy will not be voted on. Unfortunately, all the positions have been filled. With that, moving on to item 3, to consider an act upon a recommendation from the Board of Finance for an additional appropriation, $505,078 from the unassigned fund balance of the general fund to line item number 20536578848, library HVAC upgrade, to upgrade the Waterford Public Library HVAC system. I have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Anybody here for a presentation? Gary?
Hey, Chris will know.
Thank you. Thank you.
I guess Chris is giving me the microphone to start with. I do believe everyone has in their package, it was my memo that outlined the project, outlined the funding, and outlined what the $505,000 supplemental will do. I will jump down to that first. What we're asking for is $505,000, and that is broken down into several parts. It's $197 for construction. That is what we are short to sign the contractor up to do the base bid for the HVAC replacement at the library. Since we are starting late in the season here, I've added $48,000 for temporary cooling. That is what we had done last year, is we put temporary air conditioners into the windows. What we feel is that we will not be able to have the units on the roof installed, ready to work for the summer heat. So I've added some money into there. And then there's a 5% contingency. It is a large project involving electricians, of course, HVAC technicians, and roof work. And we believe we have covered everything, but to have a contingency means that we can move along quickly getting the project done. The full project was bid out, and to do all 3 components, which was the the main level, and the basement, and some other stuff. The total project came out to $2.3 million, round numbers. We did not have those funds, so the way the bid was constructed is that the town could accept the base bid, which is the main level, and the other portions, which is the lower level, could be done at a later date. And that will be included in a later CIP project. We had one contractor bid. We went back with that one contractor and asked if he could sharpen his pencil, and he did. He wants the project. He went to his subcontractors, asked them to sharpen pencils. They went to his other subs that did not provide him numbers, but he went to his other subs that he has worked with before, and it came up with a number of a savings of about $295,000. So we have to put the contractor, which is Action Air, did a good job sharpening his pencil. Our options are few. The air conditioning units at the library are done. They are non-existent. The one remaining unit on the rooftop, it was both a heating and an air conditioning unit. The heating lasted through the winter. It is debatable if it will last through another winter. So what we're looking at is getting enough money to provide air conditioning on the main level of the library, and to get that work done as soon as we can. What the question is on tariffs, we don't know. We do know that at the time that I wrote this memo on March 15th, is that the lead times of some of the major equipment had already increased from 12 weeks to 16 weeks. That's when a contractor goes out to his vendors, signs a contract. So right now we're looking at a 16-week lead time. At the time that we had talked to the contractor, there was some notice of tariffs coming down, and he felt confident that he and his vendors could hold their prices. with the current tariffs that were out there, we do not know what is happening. We still feel confident that the contractor can perform the work with the price that he has given us. That is on the technical side. I don't know if Chris, you would want to talk about the grant portion of it.
So for those of you who have been on the RTM for a number of years, you probably remember this project. It first came forward back in 2019 when the previous library director was able to secure a $250,000 grant from the Connecticut State Library Construction Grant. And at the time, everything was based on numbers from 2019. Since that time now, project costs with COVID have doubled. There was a long timeline with the funding because the town decided to spread out the cost over 3 years as is allowed by the Connecticut State Library Grant. So once the town funding was officially approved after the 3rd year, then it had to go back to the state and be approved by their bond commission, which added another almost 10 months to the timeline, which is why we're back here now in 2026, hoping to move forward with the project. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have for me, and I do appreciate your consideration of this request.
Any discussion? Representative Morza.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Moderator. So just a question, excuse me, and I'm not a scientist, obviously, but my question is, and my concern is, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, the books and the materials that are held within the library, I would imagine they're sensitive to extreme heat, which causes, there could be mold, there could be all kinds of things going on, and which could, in effect, ruin the materials throughout the library. And, there's the issue of black mold if things go for too long without ventilation. So am I correct in saying that a proper HVAC system will help to preserve the materials that are already at the library?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the fear for humidity when you're in a building filled with, books and paper materials is real, which is why DPW last summer, with blessing of the first selectman, brought in as many temporary cooling units as possible. We're limited based on our windows. I don't know if you look at the way our building is. So, but as many units as was possible to put in there, were put in there for that reason. And we also did add additional dehumidifiers on the lower level as well to keep the humidity levels down. So it's almost, it's a combination of the heat, of course, is unbearable, but the humidity is a bigger risk for the library as well.
Any other discussion? Representative Cole.
Through you, Mr. Moderator. My question is this going to take care of this project? Is this going to take care of the entire library?
No. The lower level, the basement, if you want to call it, those rooms, they will not be done. That estimated cost from this contractor was about $300,000. The plan is to not forget about it. It still needs to be done, is to put it into a capital request for the cycle. I've been putting together capital projects for all the main buildings that we have, and this will be included in my request for next year funding. Of course, we'll look for grants on it, but this will just do the main level. The lower level will still limp along as we have it down there with fans and whatever minor air conditioning that we have down there.
Any other Representative Morrison.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Moderator. Just a follow-up question. So, in the library, what do you think is the most valuable space to the library in terms of not valuable meaning like meaningful for people, but valuable in terms of like holding space? Do you have archives within the library? And how does that look with kind of piecemealing projects along?
Well, all of our materials are stored on the main level, so that it's very important to have this main level done. That's where most of our people are, all of our materials are. So, I mean, that is critical. We would love to see the lower level redone because, as mentioned, We only have 1 of 2 working units right now in our main meeting room. We still have a working unit in our smaller conference room. And we've added some temporary dehumidifiers down there to help. But that main floor is really where we need the cooling and dehumidification ASAP.
So, any other questions? Representative Childs?
Through you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you for the service that is provided to the town. Keeping the library open is pretty important, and I know a lot of our community members go there frequently. I'm a little frustrated this evening because in December of 2023, this group appropriated money, $1,091,200 to be starting this project, and that seems like a really long time ago to have that money already approved and ready to roll and just be coming back now. So I think, yes, we all need to vote yes on this. However, I wish this was 19 months ago or more. So thank you.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Representative Driscoll?
Through you, Mr. Moderator, thank you. Gary, so I just wanna confirm, because I know we've all been waiting a long time. I appreciate the library's understanding. And I can second the people who commented that the heat was oppressive in September when I went in there, despite those great pumping things. So it's been 2 years since we appropriated the money. The work hadn't started. So I'm asking, and now we know, even with emergency certification today, there's not gonna be any work started in the library until August. So we already know AC is out for this summer. We're just hoping we'll get the heat done before the winter. But again, why are our projects taking so long?
Once the money is appropriated, we then need to get with a consultant. If we have an on-call consultant on board, then we start the process of working out a scope of services and then a contract. Then it gets fed into our consultant's schedule too. The consultants they like working for Waterford. They like working for this town because we pay on time, and that means cash flow to them. That means a lot to a consultant. But if the contract is then drafted, it is reviewed by legal, so it's a process that it goes through, and then we sign up the contract, and then it gets fitted to the consultant's schedule. The consultant then, in this instance, worked about 6 months at putting the project together in a form of a bid. So there is a process that it takes time. The consultant isn't going to start any work until he himself has a contract in hand, that the money's been appropriated. And it's been to the purchase order so he can purchase it. So the start of the project, if the RTM approves this tonight and approves the emergency authorization, tomorrow the purchasing agent will be putting that contract together, and I will notify the contractors that the process has started. The money's been appropriated. Of course, the contract has to be put together, but he can then start putting out his purchase orders, getting his purchase orders ready for his subcontractors, his suppliers. So we're hoping of starting this thing in a couple months. So we're in April, May, and June. He expects to be in there. He can do a lot of preliminary work, which is just the duct work, and that is the easiest thing to do. It can be fabricated off-site or it can be fabricated on-site. So what I think the library is going to be seeing is a lot of ceiling work being done. The ceiling's taken down and duct work being put up. So we want to get this done quickly, and so is our contractor. So I'm positive, knowing this contractor here, he already has put his bid packages together to his subs, and the submittals that go to the architect. So we are going to start early. This whole thing getting out, we would like to have it done before August, at least the portions of it. But it all depends again upon the supply of the material. But the duct work and that stuff that can be done, it's the mechanical equipment that takes that 10 to 16 weeks. So that's going to be, we're going to be at the mercy of those people.
A related question while Gary's sitting here.
Yeah, good.
Thank you. Can you give us an ETA on when we're gonna have working bathrooms downstairs in the town hall? Because this project's been going on for 5 years.
When you go out, take a peek.
Oh, I saw a big sign that said, we're closed for
Go
construction.
to take a peek. What is missing is the partitions. Those are supposed to be installed Wednesday morning. But if you go into either first floor or second floor, the ceilings are in, the fixtures are in, some of the stuff is hung on the wall. Right now, it is the partitions that will come in on Wednesday. Bottom line, if the building official, well, not if, when the building official inspects it, and if it passes the inspection, Friday they should be open.
This month.
Well, jeez, you have to put it this month.
I didn't want to jinx you by saying by Friday.
No, this Friday, so, everybody wants it done, but on the way out, take a peek. They look nice, they're missing the partitions, please don't use them.
Don't take a peek.
There's water in them, but please don't use them. But on the serious side, by Wednesday afternoon, all petitions should be in, for inspections.
Any other discussion? Representative Keeley.
You touched on this a little bit before, but how many more phases of the HVAC system at the library do you see coming down the road?
I am planning for one more, which is the lower level. Excuse me, I can't even talk about it. The lower level. What's really good about that, we have a plan already. The plans are there, the specifications are there.
So would you say that the process is not gonna take as long as this one did?
Correct, because we have the plans, we have the engineer, we have the bid specs. So once we get funding for it, we can put it out the bid.
And you probably don't have the answer to this, but can you predict how much it would cost? Close to this, lower?
Well, we know it won't be any lower than that, because prices usually go up yearly, but it all depends if there's the tariffs and what's happening to metals and that, so no one out there is putting, I guess they'll barely hold prices now for 3 to 5 weeks, because the prices are moving so quickly. So there's no guarantees, but the guarantee is I will be placing this into a CIP project, asking for funding in the next cycle.
Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Hearing none, there is a motion on the floor to consider an act upon a recommendation from the Board of Finance for an additional appropriation $505,078 from the unassigned fund balance of general fund to line item number 20536-57848 library HVAC upgrade to upgrade the Waterford Public Library HVAC system. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Representative Driscoll. Sorry, I did. Representative Jelinas. Sorry, Representative Driscoll.
I was gonna answer anyway, that's where my head is tonight. We have a request in our correspondence from Gary and Christine to consider an act upon this request of the additional appropriation as emergency legislation and to waive the 15-day waiting period. I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
There's a motion. Representative Driscoll. Now I got it.
You got it right. There you go. I would just like to respectfully request, we need to include a reason for why we're doing it in that motion. And I can't think of anything in polite language, the closest I can get is to get the show on the road.
Well, we can use the language in their correspondence that said the contractor needs to start the project in early April in order to get the equipment ordered. Actions at the federal level may cause increased pricing in the manufacturing of the HVAC units that the contractor can't absorb.
Maybe we can shorten that to say in order to have the air conditioning replaced by the end of this summer. Something shorter. You don't have to go into all the details, it's just.
Does that sound okay, Gary? You think it can be done by the end of the summer?
It's gonna be started by the end of the summer.
Started by the end of the summer. That sounds good, Sue. There we go. Then you can definitely.
And you started with?
To be started by the end of the summer is what you're thinking?
Well,
Yeah.
because he said 16 weeks, and that gives us till.
Give me a second so I can read it correctly, folks. All right, folks, there's a motion on the floor by Representative Jelinas, seconded by Representative Denbeck, to have emergency appropriation legislation to waive the 15-day waiting period in order to have the AC replaced that would be started by the end of the summer. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The ayes have it. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Christine. Moving on to item 4, to consider and act upon a recommendation from the Board of Finance for an additional appropriation of $10,272 from the unassigned fund balance of the general fund to line item number 10102-51320, $8,294, and line item number 10102-51920, $1,348 to cover expenses incurred in the August 13th, 2024 primary that aren't covered in the yearly budget.
Second.
Patty and Beach, would you like to come up and have anything to say, or just want a comment? Just in case anybody has questions. Any discussion? May be very simple. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, there is a motion on the floor to consider and act upon a recommendation from the Board of Finance for an additional appropriation of $10,272 from the unassigned fund balance of the general fund to line item number 10102-51320, $8,924, and line item number 10102-51920, $1,348 to cover expenses incurred in the August 13th, 2024 primary that aren't covered in the yearly budget. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Ayes have it. Moving on. Thank you, ladies. Moving on to item 5, to consider and act upon a recommendation from the Finance, Wage, and Personnel Standing Committee of the RTM to annually increase elected official salaries by the percentage approved for non-union management effective July 1st, 2025 to align salary increases. May I get a motion, please? Any discussion? Representative Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I thought you were gonna ask for a report from the chair.
Yeah, we did do that too. Would you like a report from the chair? Harry, would you like to give a report?
Let me do it up there.
Sure, be easier for you. Well, it's just easier so everybody can, it's just easier.
This report is in your packet, and on February 3rd, our committee met. We had a great meeting. We're all on the same page on this. And so what we did was review the December 2nd, we received, RTM discussed a letter received by First Selectman, subsequently referring to salaries of elected officials to the Finance, Wage, Personnel Standing Committee of the RTM. In considering the request, the committee met on January 27th to discuss the matter. The discussion was focused on how increases are calculated for the paid elected officials. During the discussion, it was noted over the last 10 years that more times than not, elected officials' salaries increases were half as much as non-union municipal personnel. With rising costs, in all fairness, the committee strongly felt salary increases for elected officials should be equal and consistent with non-union municipal personnel to retain employees and to attract new ones when needed. After the discussion, a motion was made and accepted unanimously to report the issue out of committee with a recommendation that the RTM annually increase elected official salaries by the percentage approved for non-union management effective July 1st, 2025 to align salary increases.
Any discussion? Representative Driscoll.
Through you, Mr. Moderator. And I'd like to start out by saying that it doesn't please me to say this. I apologize to all my friends in the audience. I respect and they do a great job. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to vote no on this recommendation, and simply for the reason that it is in violation of the state constitution. And since I don't want anyone to think that I made this up, passing out, so we don't have that, and I have a copy. So now I'm off the mic.
Oh, thanks. I don't know. You got an extra one? Thanks so much.
All set, Sue?
Yeah, so over the years, we've had several discussions about elected official salaries. I know you and I, Mr. Moderator, worked on this years ago when we first went to 4 terms. We worked hard to get up to, make sure our salaries were set at comparable rates to other elected positions, which unfortunately are not the same as comparable rates in the private sector. However, there has been discussion in the past about can we do this? We knew there was some kind of restriction on when you could make these. We were told that, nope, we can do this midterm, so we went right along. However, as you can see from that handout, I did the excerpts, I gave my citation. It says clearly, the Constitution, not the state statutes, the Constitution was changed to say that the compensation of an elected official of a political subdivision of the state, that's us, whose term of office is 4 years or more, may be increased once after such official has completed 2 years of his term. That means once halfway through. We cannot give them a raise before they have served half of that current term, and we can only do it once. The scrambled up chart below is me going back through years of calendars trying to figure out when election day is, because what further complicates this matter is that most of our elected officials, their actual term starts on a different date, not when you would expect. The registrars I've always known have started, their term officially starts first 10 days in January following the election. I've always known there's been a delay for that and for the clerk. I did not know there was a delay for the treasurer as well. So our practice of, which we've taken up recently, of doing raises set to start on the start of a fiscal year, right there, that throws us for a loop. And what this chart says, if you look at the last 2 columns, I gave the date that raises are allowed during a current term. And if you look next to it, it shows you for the Board of Selectmen and the tax collector, we gave them a raise every year. That's 4 violations, basically, of the thing. We cannot proceed in this way. So that is why I'm asking regretfully this body to vote no. There are ways to set up raises for municipal officials on a regular basis, but it has to all be keyed to the start of their term. For the timing, it would be up to the body to decide if they want to set them up, once at the start of each term, or wait till the middle of each term, so it overlaps. But that's a complicated discussion that we can't really have here. So. And since we cannot, as far as I can tell, enact a raise before the next term, we do have some time to discuss this in committee. Sorry, Harry.
Any other discussion? Representative Condon.
Nick, I'm looking at you. I know you're about to put your hand up, but I've heard of this before, and I thought that because we are a representative town meeting, that this section does not apply to us.
I can answer that question, because I looked it up. That was half of yesterday. A town meeting and a representative town meeting, those are 2 distinct bodies. They are referred to separately in state laws and statutes. A law applies to both the town meeting, which is a group of citizens who come in and yell and scream. It's kind of like us, but it's only once a year, and vote on budget. That's the average citizen. We are an elected legislative body with our authority and our duties set up by charter and special act. That's a different thing.
Yeah.
Statutes, no No, but in the statute, it will say, if it applies only to a town meeting, it will say town meeting. If it applies only to a representative town meeting, it will say that. If it applies to both, it will say town meeting or representative town meeting.
Yeah, and
It's two separate things.
I've heard,
This exception
and
doesn't
Nick's gonna say
apply.
something here, but I've heard of this too, but we are the legislative body of a town meeting. This is what we labored under for years. Go ahead, Nick.
But I do have,
Susan, hang on, Dick, can you,
Go ahead.
because I know your hand was up.
Yes, I distinctly recall that this topic came up and Rob and I researched it and we rendered our opinion, easy for you to say, to the standing committee. And remember that distinctly. And in a report done by the Office of Legislative Research of the state legislature regarding the history of the constitutional limitation on salary increases for elected municipal officials this was done in August of '23. There is a review of the various constitutional provisions, and then there's the citation to a case Scolo v. Mandanisi. It says in Scolo v. Mandanisi, elected and appointed municipal officials sued claiming that the ordinance violated this constitutional provision prohibiting extra compensation during an elected official's continuance in office. The state Supreme Court found that the ordinance did not violate the Constitution, citing precedent, including another case, McGovern, in which the court had distinguished properly legislated salary increases for public employees and officials from gratuitous